Welcome to Student Spotlight, where each month we'll be spotlighting a different graduate student from the English department at Oklahoma State. My name is Sean Kulikin, the English grad student coordinator, and I'll be your host. And today I'm very excited to meet with our guest from the Lit program, Michelle Dostal. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. So Michelle, the way this thing works is I ask you 5 questions and you give us 5 answers. Sound good?
Sounds wonderful.
Excellent. Okay, question number 1. Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on here at OSU?
Yes, yeah. So my name's Michelle, and I'm from Northwest Oklahoma. And so I have been a PhD student for a little bit longer than I care to admit, but that's okay. It's coming to a fruitful end now. But I specialize in early and 19th century American literature. And so I especially like to focus on women's lives and writing during that time. And so that's kind of what I do. But when I'm not reading for study, I really like a good whodunit story. And so I'm currently just kind of, whenever I have a moment, I've been reading through Agatha Christie's novels. And so I really enjoy wonderful mysteries. And she's one of my favorites.
Excellent. Yeah, she is great. All right, great. Thank you. So question number 2, why did you choose to come to OSU?
Okay, this is kind of a funny story. So like I said, I live in Northwest Oklahoma, and so I've lived here for a while with my husband, and he loves his job here. And so whenever I was considering PhD programs, it had to be somewhere in driving distance.
Right.
And so there were only 3 programs that fit that bill. So one was Oklahoma University, one was OSU, and then the other was actually in Virginia, but it was a fully online program. And so whenever I did my master's degree at the University of Central Oklahoma, and all 3 of my thesis committee advisors, they were all pushing me toward OSU. Like saying they have the better program. Even one of them was an OU alum, and he was still saying you need to go to OSU. And so the funny part of it is that 2 of them actually didn't even fill out recommendation letters for me for OU. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I figured I got into OSU, so I wasn't going to worry about it. I thought, well, why bother them? I'm just going to go to OSU because it looked like a great program. Right. And they were hyping it. So, and I'm so glad that I came. I think that we have a top-notch English department. I think all of our professors are incredible, and so I'm glad I chose that. So
yeah, I agree. Hey, that's a great story. Yes.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, question number 3. What are some of the best things about this program that have happened to you that you'd like to share?
Okay. I think probably one of the best things that's happened for me has been all of the encouragement for professionalization. So when I was doing my master's degree, and I don't want to blame this on anybody, I'm sure that I take a lot of responsibility in this, but I just don't remember a lot of emphasis being put on professionalization there. And so, I didn't have a lot of people encouraging me to do conferences or try to publish or anything like that. And so when I started the PhD program, I had actually never spoken at a conference and I had never published anything. And so from day one, I have professors that are encouraging that, and not in a pushy way, but just in a way of, hey, we believe in you. We believe in the work that you're doing. And you need to be out there and you need to be showing everybody else what great work you're doing. And so I had an advisor who just really believed in me and was like, I think you should aim high. And so the very first conference that I did a calls for paper. The very first conference was the American Literature Association, which is probably the top conference in my field, and I got accepted. So that was
Wow.
my very first conference experience. And so
Wow.
yeah, and so I mean, I think that that's been one of the best things for me, because I was really nervous. Like my very first semester at OSU, I remember having to present a paper in one of my classes, and it just freaked me out because I'd never presented my work in front of people, in front of colleagues before. And so I'm really glad that our program does that. Like almost every class I've ever had gives me that opportunity to present my work in front of my colleagues, in front of my peers. And it's just great practice for then going to a conference and doing the same thing, you know. And then just kind of from there, I've been able like actually from those conference experiences, I've been able to be a part of 2 projects for the journal ESQ. And so that kind of came out of that networking from those conferences. And so that worked out really well. And then one of my other publications is actually from a conference paper. And so it kind of all snowballed, you know, from that one experience. And so that's just been a really rewarding thing for me. And I'm so thankful for professors who really encourage us to do that and really give us the confidence to do that, I think. So
Wow, that's great to hear, because I know I've heard other people, graduate students, complain about other programs and say that, you know, not being ready for the job market, not having the professionalization. So that's really good to hear you say that.
yeah, I think we do a great job at that.
Great. Thank you. Question number 4. Do you have any advice for other students and future students?
I do. So I think that this would go for either current or future students. Is that I know that, so the first thing I would say is I know that being a graduate student can be very overwhelming. And I
Mhm.
want to say at times, but really the truth of it is most of the time, it
Yeah.
can be overwhelming. There's just a lot that's going on, a lot as far as classes and teaching, and then professionalization, future work with exams and dissertation or thesis, things like that. And I know that sometimes it can become really overwhelming. So my first piece of advice would be to just take it one day at a time.
Mhm.
Because I think sometimes when I try to take all of that in at once,
Mhm.
it's just too much.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's when I start to shut down or freeze up, or, you know, just kind of want to throw in the towel. But if I can just kind of take a step back and be like, okay, here are the things that I know I can get done today. And so that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I'm going to focus on. And then the next day, I'm going to start all over again. Here are the things that I can do today. And, you know, and of course, I'm setting future goals, obviously, but at the same time, I try not to get so overwhelmed by the what's in the future. Like when I find myself starting to do that, then that's when I know I need to just take a step back and figure out, okay, here are the things I can do right now. And so that's been something that's been helpful to me. And so another thing I would say is this: ask a lot of questions. And so I know that one thing that I've learned about our professors, or at least the professors I've been around at OSU, which is a lot of them, is that they want you to succeed. You know, just plain and simple, they want you to succeed. They're not out to get you. And they want you to ask questions. You know, they want you to seek their advice when you need it. And so don't hesitate to do that. Don't hesitate to seek out advice, and to ask questions, and to kind of just find out what you know, what advice they can give you, whether it's exams or thesis, dissertation, or professionalization, or any of that stuff. I've just learned that they are always, you know, willing to pretty much drop everything to talk to you and help you out. So, which is pretty amazing to think about because they have so much going on themselves. So
Yeah. But like you said, they want us to succeed. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
That's great advice. Yeah. Thank you. We have one final question. Question number 5. What's one fun, unique hobby, interest, or memory you'd like to share? And this could be related to OSU and your focus, or is just completely random.
Okay, so this is like, it's related to OSU, but it's also kind of random. And it's a weird one, but it's one of the first things that popped into my head. It's like super memorable, and I will never forget this moment. So I live in Northwest Oklahoma. I live about between 2.5 and 3 hours away from campus. And so I guess I should have said that earlier, because that's probably one of my claims to fame, is that I commuted like
Yeah.
twice a week for years. And so to campus. And so probably 6 hours, a day, twice a week. And anyway, so I just remember one year, I was in an evening class, and it was Dr. Grebgeld's modernist fiction. And if she ever teaches that again, please take the class. It's awesome. But so it was finals week. And so this was our finals day. And so we were doing presentations. And so I was driving in, and this was in spring. And so if you have lived in Oklahoma for any period of time, you know that spring is the time that we get storms. And so like, really, well, I say that we get storms all the time, but violent storms. And so anyway, I'm driving, and foolish me, I had not looked at the weather that day or anything. And so I'm driving, I was like, man, it's getting pretty dark out here, this is going to be interesting. And so I stopped at a gas station along the way, and I looked at my phone, and I'm like, okay, I think this is going to be, I'm going to hit a window. I think it's going to be all right. So I'm probably maybe like 45 minutes from campus still. And they're doing like construction. And so I'm like stopped at a stoplight in the middle of a highway. It's just a 2-lane highway at a stoplight because they're doing bridge construction. And my car it feels like it's gonna roll over because the wind just starts hitting it. All of a sudden, like just heavy, heavy hail.
Oh,
And
no.
I'm like, I'm just being whipped around. And I'm like, okay, this is not a safe place to be right now. But I'm in the middle of nowhere. There are no houses or structures, no ditch, no nothing. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here, and once the light turns green, I probably should have just ran the red light. But anyway, I was like, once the light turns green, I'm gonna go. So I'm driving, and I'm getting on my phone. I know you're not supposed to do that when you drive, but I was like, I'm probably going to die in a tornado more likely than in a car accident right now. So I'm going to look at my weather app. So I get on there, and I'm just trying to look at it while I'm driving. And it, sure enough, at the top, it says, you are currently under a tornado warning. And I'm like, fantastic. I'm on my way to my final, and I'm in a tornado warning. And so I'm driving, and I come up to I-35 and 51. And there are all these cars like parked under the overpass because tornado warning, right? And so, by the way, don't do that. You're not supposed to do that. It's very dangerous. But anyway, so I just keep driving because I'm like, if I can make it to Stillwater, I'm going to pull there's like this hotel right in the outskirts. I'm going to pull in there, and I'm going to go in there and they'll probably be nice and let me hide in there for a little bit. And so I'm just driving as fast as I can. I got my husband on the phone, and he's like, I think you should pull over. I'm like, no, I can do this. And so I'm like just going as fast as I can, thinking nobody's going to stop me with tornado sirens blaring right now, right? And so sure enough, I get to Stillwater right before the tornado comes. And I pull in, and I get in there, and it dawns on me, I left my backpack in the car. And so, like the really crazy, insane graduate student that I am, I'm thinking, man, all my work is on that computer. I have to go out there and get it. And they're like, hey, you can't go out there. There's a tornado. And I'm like, but you don't understand. That's all my life's work right there in the car. I've got to go get it. So I'm like going out there, and it's hailing and raining. And so anyway, I grab my stuff, and I get in there, and the tornado passes over, and it wasn't a bad thing or anything. And so I was only like 10 minutes late to class. So that was good. And I had a nice little story to tell when I came in. So anyway, I know that was kind of a long story, but it's
No, that was, I like how that story built up too. And boy, what a build up to a final.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, so like from then on, like whatever happened that evening, it couldn't compare. So it didn't matter. And
And
I
I
don't
sure hope,
even I don't even know if I was presenting that day. I think I'd already presented and
Oh,
I was
good.
just handing in a paper or something.
Oh, good. I was gonna say, I sure hope you did well on that final.
Yeah, I did all right, I think.
Okay, that's a great story. Thank you, Michelle. This was a great interview, and thanks for being on our show.
Yeah,
It's
thanks
good
for having
seeing
me.
you. You're
Yeah,
one of
it's good
my
to see
old
you.
office mates too. I
Yeah.
met with Oliver, one of our other old office mates, and
Yes.
in the last interview. So it's
Yeah.
really great to see you, and yeah, and miss working with you, miss being in the office with you.
Yeah.
And
Me
thank you
too.
again for doing this.
Yeah.
And final note, thank you to our viewers for watching, and we'll see you next month for another episode of Student Spotlight. Take care and goodbye.